Welcome back, everybody. I want to show you my PRS guitars and hopefully explain, both from a personal standpoint and from a sonic standpoint, why I love these guitars so much and why I have so many of them. And let's start with number one. This is my blue Custom 24. It's pretty much a bone stock Custom 24 aside from the pickups. I put a Duncan Custom 5 and I've actually got the neck pickup from my PRS McCarty in the neck position here at the moment. I probably changed these 10 years ago. I can't remember why I changed them, but I did, and they've just stayed in there ever since. This guitar I've done hundreds of gigs with. It was probably my main gigging guitar for, probably close to 10 years until I got my single cut. And it's been all around Australia, all around the world, and it just kind of holds up. It's one of those guitars that I know if I got a call right now and I had to be at a gig in 15 minutes, I can slap a set of strings on this guitar and it's going to work pretty much for any style. It has the McCarty style electronics, so there's a push-pull on the tone pot. With a clean sound, the humbucker modes, they're okay, but when you tap them, you get a really lovely kind of spanky funk sound from the neck pickup in particular. I'll start with the humbucker mode and then you'll hear it tapped. So that's really nice. Then if you move over to kind of a edge of breakup sound, the bridge pickup really comes into its own. The middle position is actually out of phase on these pickups. You can hear that kind of really nice, creamy bite the bridge pickup has. And then when you play with some distortion, especially because I've got this guitar set up in drop C at the moment, it has this really nice clunk about it. I wouldn't call it a chunk. My single cut, which we'll hear in a little bit, definitely has the chunk. This kind of just goes clunk, where the low end's not super extended, but when you play chords with distortion, they're all really clear and really defined. So let's do that. I'll go to the Atomica High model on my Axe-Fx. And then when you move over to a full-on lead scene, the neck pickup is just liquid and the bridge pickup really cuts. Glorious stuff. I have two Custom 24s though, so I'll show you the other one, and it is a totally different animal to this guitar. This is my other Custom 24 in emerald green. You'd see this guitar a lot more on the channel because I just love the split coil modes you can get from the 5-way rotary. For example, if you go to the neck pickup and click it back one, you have this just glorious spank that you can control with the tone control if it gets too bright. Which is lovely. If you go over to kind of a edge of breakup tone, again with the bridge pickup, it's really nice. But then going over to those split, actually they're parallel positions, nevertheless, wonderful stuff. And when you chuck it on a lead sound, the bridge pickup, which is actually a Duncan JB, it's kind of not as strident as the blue Custom 24. It's a little bit darker, it's a little bit more of a kind of 80s hair metal. And this has fast become one of my main gigging guitars. It's kind of overtaken the Blue Custom 24 over the last couple of years, just because of those in-betweeny sounds. I think they're a little bit more convincing and a little bit more balanced across the board and between the humbucker modes than the Blue guitar. The Blue guitar is great for that kind of clunk sound. This one is more the sort of guitar I would take if I was doing like a blues gig or a funk gig or something like that. All right, let's get on to the next PRS. This is my PRS McCarty, which you would have seen a lot of on the channel as well. This McCarty is pretty unique for a couple of reasons. The top is one piece and the back is one piece. So there's only a couple of pieces of wood on the whole guitar. I recently put a set of Fishman Fluence classic humbuckers in here, basically because I wanted to try the Fluences out and I wanted to do something a little bit different with this guitar. And it sounds pretty awesome. For kind of clean sounds, it does the classic Les Paul, you know, both humbuckers on, pickup selector in the middle position with a clean sound really, really well. But with the Fluences, they've got two voices on these particular models, so I can get a variation on that. The strings on this are pretty old, so it does sound a little bit more dull than it usually does. I've swapped the machine heads on this to Godot SD90 locking machine heads because I just love locking machine heads, especially when playing live. And this, for me, is kind of my ultimate like rock guitar. For the really high gain stuff, I probably like my single cut or my Blue Custom 24 a little bit more. For the cleaner stuff, I probably like the Green Custom 24 a little bit more. But for just kind of straight up, utter filthy rock drop C stuff, the neck profile on this is different to the Custom 24s as well. It's a little bit chunkier. It's overall just kind of like the PRS take on a Les Paul. Even though my single cut looks more like a Les Paul, in my opinion, this guitar cops more of that Les Paul vibe. I got this by buying it sight unseen from eBay about 10 years ago, which at the time for me was like kind of a big risk, spending that much money and not seeing the guitar. When it arrived, it blew my mind with how nice it was. Perfect condition. I have kind of abused it a little bit, and there's lots of nicks and scratches and kind of little cuts all over the finish, but you know, that's the point about guitars. You play them and you make them your own. Even though PRS guitars often kind of get criticized for being these kind of museum pieces, for me, they're the ultimate player's guitar because they sound great and they're really easy to play. All right, talking about a player's guitar, let's move over to my Mira. So this is my PRS Mira from 2008. I bought it in 2012 from Norman's Rare Guitars. The second day I ever spent in the United States, Ragdoll was on their first tour of the US. And rather than take a guitar with me, I figured it was going to be a great idea to just go over and buy a guitar and take it on tour. Now, when I got there and started playing some guitars, I got slightly terrified because nothing I tried really kind of fit for my style until I played this guitar. I'm pretty sure it was like the cheapest thing at Norman's, and it just worked. I took the guitar to my hotel room. 2 days later, played the side stage of a festival with it, and then went on a 2 or 3 week tour of the US with it. And it held up really, really well until I left it on my chair when I was teaching guitar at a school that I teach at. I went to collect a student from their classroom, and I came back to my room. I don't know what happened in the interim, but my guitar was on the floor and the neck was sticking up at a right angle. So probably just me leaving it on the swivel chair and then kicking it or something like that. So I was kind of heartbroken about that. And then because my dad is a genius with woodworking, I kind of took, you know, this guitar over to him and I was like, can you please fix this? And we ended up putting 2 bolts into the neck. Then a couple of years later, I ended up taking it to Tim at MT Guitars and he kind of put the final finish on it and did a plec on it, and he stripped the neck off right down to the timber and kind of gave it a lovely gunstock finish. So this is kind of unique. It's really, really smooth. I love the feel of the natural wood, and this guitar just kind of sounds different. It's got a little coil split here on this kind of 2-way switch, and it's got a 3-way switch. So it's almost like a cross between a Tele and an SG, but it plays like a custom 24. The neck profile is exactly the same as my custom 24s, and the Mira pickups, as I understand, are basically the same pickups that are in my single cut, just without the covers. So I was talking about how my blue PRS kind of has a clunk about it. This sort of has a similar thing, but it's got more of that SG style bark about it. And those split modes sound really good, kind of unlike my custom 24, the blue one, where the split modes are a little bit unbalanced. I think that's because of the different pickups that I've got in there. The split modes on this sound really, really good. You know, just with that one kind of sound, you can go from that big fat crunch kind of roll the volume and the tone down a bit, and then you've got a totally different vibe going on. So this is a really good guitar to play with a single channel amp and just use the controls and kind of go old school with it. So we've done 4 of the 5. Let's do the single cut. This is my favorite guitar ever. This guitar is just kind of me. As you can see, it is a stock standard SC245 from 2008. It's got the really cool birds happening on it. It's got the beautiful natural binding. Basically, if I ever had a signature PRS guitar, I would just get them to copy this guitar exactly. That's how much I like it. And, you know, it's just the guitar that I think kind of fits my style the best. You know, with a kind of crunchy, martially rock tone, you get this. Then when you move over to a lead tone, it is just everything I like. But it's really, really nice for clean sounds. Again, on that both humbuckers on kind of mode. This doesn't have coil taps. I played a McCarty 594 the last time I was in the States that was basically this guitar with a sunburst with coil taps, and that was pretty awesome as well. But I really like this clean mode. But I reckon 95% of the time I actually play with this guitar, it is with silly amounts of gain. It is just so clear and crisp and articulate. It records so well. You know, it does everything that I need a guitar to do. It's comfortable to play live with this kind of tummy cut. Yeah, like I said, it's just, you know, it's just kind of a unicorn guitar that I found. I bought it in 2014 from, I think, Guitar Center in North Dallas, where they had a huge sale on PRS stuff. I played every other guitar in the store until this one. I picked this one up, I played a D chord on it, and I went, I'm gonna buy this guitar because this is the one. It just, that D chord just kind of sang like angels from heaven. The other thing that I'll say about all of these guitars, you know, I've done lots and lots of gigs, especially here in Western Australia, because everywhere we play is so remote. Most of the shows are fly gigs, and often you'll go from, you know, kind of dry, cold weather here up to the north of the state where it is wet and hot and humid in the course of like 2 hours. So your guitar goes up into a plane, which is basically a refrigerator, comes out. These guitars have been so solid. My blue Custom 24, I remember we played a festival in the south of France where it was like hot and steamy and balmy. I changed the strings on that guitar about 45 minutes before our set, did an hour-long show of ragdoll songs, basically loosened the strings, put the guitar in its case, and the next day we flew to like the north of Germany where it was a lot colder, and did a gig that night with the same strings. I basically just tuned the guitar back up once and it worked, and kind of all of these guitars do that. They are just so consistent. Like I said, they play great, they sound great, but most importantly for me, they're reliable tools. That's why I'm not too scared about, you know, scratching them or getting cuts and dings and anything like that in them. I just kind of know they're gonna work. I'm not too worried about them cosmetically. I know like the PRS headstock is a turnoff for some people. I personally absolutely love it. To me, they're just everything a kind of, you know, vintage modern guitar should be, and I would not hesitate to buy any of these guitars again. I think the only kind of PRS I'm really missing is like a hollow body 2. That's a bucket list guitar and something I would love to grab. But yeah, let me know what you thought. What was your favorite out of these 5 PRS guitars, and which one would you reach for if you had to just pick one and like go and do a gig with it or go and do a session with it? I would love to know. Thank you so much for letting me just waffle on about my favorite little machines here. If you haven't done it already, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done it already and you want to listen to my band Ragdoll, there are links to our music in the video description. You can listen to it on Bandcamp. You can listen to it on all the streaming platforms. I would love it if you went and checked it out. Until next time, stay safe, be good to one another. I'll see you later.
Enjoy the rest of your time on Earth. We'll see you.